Hello everyone, I hope you all are doing well. This side Priya Bhatia, and in this specific video we will be discussing about the full-fledged learning mechanism of how any neural network learns. What is the complete in-depth intuition behind, I would say, in the deep learning architectures when we say that our model is training? What is the intuition behind that? Although already I have showcased you in every specific topic that what is the purpose of that specific activation function, that specific loss function. But in this specific video, I just want to give you a brief context of whatever things we have covered up. Now I think you will be able to get a better understanding of how the learning happens and how we are training our deep learning models, be it any kind of a architecture that we will be having in future. But this knowledge is important. So without wasting any time, let's get started to understand the learning mechanism of deep learning neural networks. In the entire learning mechanism, we will be having three crucial steps, which I'm expecting now everyone should know. So just to summarize, that how this learning mechanism usually happens, right? How this learning mechanism usually happens. So there are three critical steps that we need to understand. First step is, I hope you can guess it. Maybe you can pause the video and let me know what do you think. The very first step in the learning mechanism in any of the deep learning neural layer architecture would be feed forward propagation. Feed forward propagation. So what will happen in this specific scenario is that our model is trying to learn the patterns starting from left towards right side, right? It's a feed forward propagation which will happen. Now, as a second step, there will be a loss calculation which will happen. So depending upon what kind of loss function you are using, now I think you will be able to understand the context behind this. If you have already watched my previous video, we have different kinds of loss functions depending upon what kind of problem you are trying to solve, be it regression problem, classification problem, creating a new, I would say, synthetic data. Depending upon all those things, we have different kinds of loss functions. So there will be a loss calculation which will happen. Now, depending upon that, the purpose overall is to minimize this loss value, right? And that is where multiple epochs will be trained in the backend. And as the third critical step, there will be a backward propagation which will happen. And there will be a optimization which will happen at the end of the day, right? There will be a backward propagation which will happen and optimization will happen on top of that. So this is the three critical steps which will happen in any kind of a learning mechanism of a deep learning neural network, right? So for example, if let's say you are trying to train your model and there are two input features that you will be having. The very first input feature is I will be having maybe again the CGPA of the person. The second input feature is, let's say I will be having the IQ level of that person. Out of 10, there will be a score. Now, depending upon these two input values, we have the hidden layers. Now, these hidden layers is a kind of a hyperparameter. We don't know what could be the best optimal one. We will try to do a hit and trial and get the idea that in which specific number we will be able to get the minimum error value, right? So what will happen in this specific case? Every specific neuron will be passed some weights with respect to both the inputs that we will be having, and then it will be passed to the neuron, and maybe here the final layer architecture of activation function will be provided. In this specific case, let's say we are getting Z, so there will be a activation function which will be there, and we will be able to get here, we will apply activation function f of Z, and we will be able to get the answer as Y cap, right? So this is the overall architecture that we will be having different set of parameters, different set of weight values that we will be having. Now we are moving from left side towards right side to get the value of Y cap. Now there will be a loss calculation which will happen in the second stage. So when we're saying feed forward, there will be a input x1, input x2, the weight values are there, w1, w2, w3. Here we have other weight values w4, w5, w6. So we know that summation of x of I, w of ij maybe, where j indicates that how many number of input neurons that we will be having as a hidden layer. So that might be the idea of j. As per that convention, we can again rename these values. But anyhow, I hope you got my point. We're trying to multiply all the input values of x of I with the corresponding weights that we will be having. So maybe this you will call it as w11. This you can call it as w12. This you can call it as the third one, w13. Remaining ones you can call it as w21, w22 and w23. So in this way we will be able to pass all the values of second x2 value to the neuron as well. Now this is the very first task which will happen as a component of, core component of feed forward. Now as the second step, there will be a loss calculation which will happen. Now depending upon what kind of loss it is covering up. So for example, let's say we are dealing with regression kind of a task. So in that case, might be we can go for mean squared error kind of a loss, right? Similarly, if let's say we are dealing with the classification task, depending upon whether we can classify the data points as 0 or 1, we can take that specific aspect, the loss function value as, I would say, binary cross entropy or categorical cross entropy, depending upon whether it's a binary classification task or it's a multi-class classification task. Cross entropy, right? Afterwards, or maybe you are trying to solve any problem of GANs, or you are trying to solve a problem of autoencoders. Depending upon that, you will be having a different type of loss functions, or you can also have your own customized loss functions as well. That is also possible now. Currently, nowadays, we can have that possibility as well. But the purpose will be that at any point of time, maybe let's say we are talking about MSE, so it will try to compare this value of y of I, which is the actual one, with the value of y cap I. We'll do the square. What we want is this value to be minimum. Now, let's say this is not something which is minimum, so it will do backtrack and it will try to update the weights. It will try to update the weights. Now, how the weight updates will happen? That is where the role of optimizers will come into picture, right? This is where the third step, which is, so this is done as the first step, feed forward propagation. This is done as the loss calculation, which will be done as the second step in the learning mechanism. Third step will be backward propagation and optimization. So there are multiple sets of optimizers that we have that we will be able to cover up in the upcoming session, where you will be able to observe, for example, there is a very famous optimizer called as gradient descent. You must have heard this specific optimizer in your, if you have already worked upon machine learning sessions. So in your ML portion, we have covered up this in a lot more detail, specifically with respect to the linear regression context, right? How it will be able to get the optimal parameters of M and C when it tries to create a best fit line. So what this gradient descent optimizer usually does, so if we will be having this kind of a graph, and this is a kind of a point, right? So if we will be having, let's say, this kind of a curve. So what this gradient descent optimizer usually does, it will start from, let's say, at the very first moment, it will try to evaluate the loss function and the error is maximum. So at every iteration, it will try to reduce this error. That is the whole purpose. It will try to reduce this error. That is the whole purpose. It will try to reduce this error. That is the whole purpose. So this is where what we called it as a local or a global minima. And this optimizers usually tries to give this specific value, the optimized value, where the error will be minimum, where the we can say error will be approximately equals to 0. So when we are saying that we are trying to train our model, or we are trying to create a deep learning neural network, the simple internal intuition behind the same is that we are trying to update the weights in such a way that we will be able to get this minimum error, where the error is approximately equals to 0. That is the whole and sole purpose of these optimizers, and it will try to deteriorate that value in such a way that we will be able to get the optimized weight. So these optimizers will help in deep learning, specifically neural architecture, to optimize the weight and bias parameters. It will try to evaluate and give us the optimized values. How this will be updated? I think I have talked multiple times. So it will be nothing but what is the old value minus eta times derivative of loss function with respect to weight that we will be having. Now this is something which we called it as a learning rate. Learning rate. Now I have not talked about this in the prior sessions. Let me talk about this in this specific session itself. There is a very, I would say, beautiful purpose of this learning rate. This is a, I would say, step size which indicates that how much transition, how much value you want to change between new and old. We need to take this value as very carefully. It's a kind of a, I would say, hyperparameter, and we need to take this value very carefully in such a way that we will be having a very slight variation between this W new and W old, but it's not that much slight that training will take a lot of time. For example, it's kind of you are going for a track and this is the peak point where you want to reach, right? Let's say this is a track where you want to go. I'm giving one simple use case so that you will be able to understand the purpose of this learning rate. Now you are saying that, Priya, I'm starting from here. Now one way could be that you are saying that I will do a jump. And straightly I will take a bigger jumps. So it might be the case that you might reach earlier, but it might be the case that you will maybe get lazy at some point of time and you won't get the energy further to move ahead because you are taking initial very big jumps. Another way could be where you are saying that, Priya, I will run very, very slow so that I will be able to retain all my energy. You are saying that, Priya, I'll take very small jumps like this. I will move from here to here, here to here, here to here. Small jumps, if you are taking, in that case, you will reach this point very, very late, right? It might take a lot of days, maybe weeks to reach to that peak point. The best optimal way could be that you will take a careful, balanced way jumps so that it won't take too much time also, but at the same time, you will be able to retain that energy as well to reach to this peak point. So how much balanced jump you can take is the value of learning rate in our case, which is usually in maximum cases approximately equals to 0.001. You will see this is the value which we usually take in maximum instances. But this value can be 0.1, this value can be 0.01, this value can be 0.001. Depending upon what kind of problem you are dealing with, again it's in hyperparameter which we can determine depending upon what kind of problem we are working with, depending upon what kind of data set we are dealing with. So all these things we need to take care of whenever we are working with, different kinds of data sets, different kind of domains that we will be working with. So that is the whole idea behind the learning mechanism which happens in any of the deep learning based neural network architecture. So I hope that now you will be clearly able to understand everything in a very, I would say, clear manner, that what is the purpose of this activation function, to bring the known linearity in our data so that it will be able to learn the complex patterns as well. What is this linear function? What this z will be having is again the multiplication of all these values. For example, this is h1, h2 and h3. Here we will be having, let's say, w1 dash, w2 dash and w3 dash. So this z is nothing but h1 into w1 dash plus h2 into w2 dash plus h3 into w3 dash. And again, the activation function will be applied. And then finally, we will be able to get the final result at the end of the day. So this is the overall idea behind the learning mechanism in any of the deep learning based neural network. So I hope that this is pretty much clear to everyone. Still, if anyone is having any confusion, please do try to reach out to me, maybe via LinkedIn, maybe via mail. With this, we can end this specific session. I will see you all in the upcoming video, where now we will discuss further important concepts of optimizers, because that is the only topic which is left to discuss in a lot more detail. What are the different types of optimizers do we have? All those things we will cover up in the upcoming class. With this, bye-bye everyone, and I'll see you all in the upcoming videos. Bye-bye and see ya.